I wasn't looking for the room. It found me first. I've replayed that line in my head for days now, wondering if it sounds as crazy as it feels. Maybe it does. Maybe I don't care anymore. This isn't some attention grab or viral stunt. I'm only recording this because I need proof of what's been happening in my apartment. Because when it finally shows itself again, I want someone to believe me. The place looks normal enough from the outside. Small, quiet, a bit too beige for my taste. I moved in 3 months ago because it was cheap and close to work. I liked how peaceful it was. No traffic, no neighbors stomping around upstairs, no distractions. Just me, my laptop, and an internet connection strong enough to pretend I wasn't completely alone. The first night I heard it, I thought I was imagining things. A soft scratching sound coming from the closet, faint enough to blend with the hum of the fridge. I remember pausing my music, waiting, and then laughing at myself. Probably a rat, or my sanity. Both seemed equally likely, but the noise didn't stop. Every night, right after midnight, it came back. Not loud, not aggressive, just consistent, scratching, like nails against drywall. Sometimes it was rhythmic, almost deliberate, as if whoever or whatever haunt was doing it had all the time in the world. I tried banging on the wall once. It stopped instantly. That should have been comforting, but it wasn't. It felt like acknowledgement, like it knew I was listening. By the third night, I was keeping track of it. Notes on my phone, times, duration, pattern. The recordings didn't help. Whenever I played them back, all I heard was silence. But while I was listening live, it was there. I told myself it was plumbing, or the wind, or my upstairs neighbor moving furniture. Then I remembered I live on the top floor. There is no upstairs neighbor. It's funny how fast paranoia grows roots. I stopped hanging clothes in the closet. Stopped sleeping before 2 a.m. I started leaving my bedroom door open, half expecting something to walk out of that dark gap between the coats. One night, around 1:47 a.m., the noise changed. Not scratching this time. Breathing. Slow, steady, deliberate, like someone was trying to match the rhythm of my own breaths through the wall. I lay there, frozen, counting, testing if it would stop when I did. It didn't. I whispered, "Hello?" Nothing. But as soon as I reached for my phone to record it, the breathing stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than the sound itself, like the air was waiting. The next morning I checked behind the closet. No vents, no pipes, no gaps. Just drywall. I even knocked on it. Hollow. Too hollow. That's when I noticed it. A faint outline. Vertical. Like the edges of a hidden panel I'd never seen before. My heart sank in that slow, stomach-twisting way that tells you you're about to make a mistake. I didn't touch it then. I just stood there, staring at it, listening. And I swear, if you stand quiet enough, you can still hear it. It's still there. And if I don't check, I'll never sleep again. Morning light didn't make me feel any braver. The outline behind the closet looked even clearer in daylight. A thin, uneven rectangle in the drywall, almost the height of the wall itself. It wasn't a seam, not quite. More like someone had patched over a doorway and done a terrible job hiding it. I told myself I'd just inspect it, maybe film for documentation. That sounded rational enough. Rationality's a thin blanket against fear, but it's better than nothing. I took my phone, turned on the flashlight, and started tapping around the edges. Hollow, hollow, solid, then hollow again. My fingers traced a small ridge where the paint chipped. When I pressed, it flexed slightly under my hand. That's when the phone light started to flicker. I cursed under my breath, shaking it like that would help. The beam stuttered. Bright, dark, bright again. And for one instant, I thought I saw movement behind the wall, a shadow bending the wrong way. But when the light steadied, it was gone. Great, I muttered. My apartment came with a free haunted crawlspace. Humor makes it easier to breathe when your brain starts whispering, "Don't look." I grabbed a screwdriver and wedged it into the gap. The drywall gave way far too easily. Chunks fell onto the carpet, releasing a wave of air that smelled like rust, mildew, and something else. Something organic. My stomach turned before I could name it. Behind the panel wasn't insulation or brick, just darkness. A black void that swallowed the phone light. I leaned closer. There was depth to it, Not just a few inches of space, several feet, maybe more. The walls inside were covered in ancient wallpaper, yellowed and peeling, with faint floral patterns that might have once been cheerful. I aimed my flashlight into the hollow. The beam stretched just far enough to reveal a narrow opening, like a tunnel, big enough to crawl through if you were desperate or stupid. I wasn't sure which I was yet. I stuck my head in first, cautious. The air was heavier, stale with the kind of stillness that only exists in places untouched for decades. A faint buzzing hum came from somewhere deeper, like distant electricity. There was a string dangling from the ceiling, an old-fashioned light switch. Against my better judgment, I pulled it. A bulb flickered to life, hanging by a single frayed wire. Dust motes danced in the weak light, illuminating the small crawl space. Cracked wallpaper, splintered boards, and strange marks etched into the wood. Words, shaky, uneven, scrawled in something dark. I leaned closer, reading slowly, "Do not let it see you." The handwriting was frantic, gouged deep into the wall as if carved in a hurry. My heart thudded in my throat. Who wrote this? And what was it? I stepped back instinctively, the phone trembling in my grip. The bulb buzzed louder, a high-pitched whine filling the space. I could taste the electricity in the air. That's when I noticed more scratches, forming half words beneath the first. Faded, overlapping. "Too late, don't listen, behind you." I turned quickly. Nothing there, just the open panel and my bedroom beyond. But the moment I looked away from the hollow, the light dimmed. The buzzing stopped. Silence again, thick and waiting. For a long time I stood there, caught between logic and dread. Every reasonable part of me screamed to close it up, call maintenance, pretend I never saw it. But there was a tug, not physical, but persuasive, that pulled at the edge of my curiosity. I aimed the light deeper into the space. Beyond the flickering bulb, something caught the reflection. Metal? Eyes? The shape was vague, low to the ground, too still. The light dimmed again, then flared. The shape moved. Before I could convince myself otherwise, I realized I was already stepping inside. The crawl space stretched farther than it had any right to. My phone's flashlight wavered, cutting through air that smelled like copper and dust. Every movement stirred flakes of paint that shimmered like ash in the weak light. The opening behind me shrank with every shuffle forward until I realized I couldn't see my bedroom anymore, just the tunnel breathing around me. Then the space widened. I crawled out onto a wooden floor, coughing through the dust. For a long second, I just stared, trying to understand what I was seeing. It wasn't a crawl space at all. It was a room, small, maybe 10 by 12 feet, but fully furnished. A single bed with faded sheets, a wooden dresser, a cracked mirror, and wallpaper patterned with cheerful yellow balloons, the color drained to sepia. Everything was coated in a film of dust so thick it softened every edge, as if time itself had gone fuzzy here. I stood slowly. My footsteps didn't echo. The air was thick, muffled, like the room didn't belong to the same world as the one I'd left behind the wall. There were photographs on the dresser, curled at the corners, color-bleached by age, smiling faces of people I didn't recognize, a family of 3, a little boy holding a stuffed bear, a woman with dark hair that looked oddly familiar. Something about her smile tugged at my memory, but I couldn't place it. A mirror leaned against the far wall. The glass was warped, reflecting the room like a fever dream. Stretched, bent, colors wrong. When I caught my own reflection, my skin looked grayish, my eyes darker than they should have been. I looked tired. On the desk sat a camcorder. Old, heavy, the kind with a slot for VHS-C tapes. Dust covered it, but the battery light glowed faintly red, as if it had never stopped running. A strip of masking tape labeled the cassette, "Play Me." Every instinct screamed not to touch it, which, of course, meant I did. I pressed the power button. The motor whirred softly, and the screen blinked alive. Static at first, snow and hiss. Then an image formed. My room. Not this room. My apartment bedroom. The same messy sheets, same crooked lamp, same pile of clothes by the chair. The camera was aimed directly at my bed, and on that bed, It was me, sleeping. I froze. My first thought was that this was a trick. Old footage, someone playing a prank. But the details were too exact. The shirt I wore last night, the cup on the nightstand, even the faint flicker of my phone charging. The timestamp at the corner read 1:46 a.m. I'd heard the breathing at 1:47. The screen trembled slightly, as if the person holding the camera was moving closer to my sleeping body. The breathing grew louder on the recording, slow, wet, deliberate. Then, right before the camera reached the side of the bed, the image glitched. For a single frame, I saw an eye staring directly into the lens, too wide, unblinking, human but wrong, and then static. The tape ended. I dropped the camcorder. It clattered against the wooden floor, ejecting the cassette. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't pick it up again. Someone had been here, watching me, recording me. From behind that wall, or worse, maybe it wasn't someone, maybe it was something. I spun toward the entrance, half expecting to see movement. The bulb above flickered once, twice. The mirror caught my reflection again, but my reflection didn't move. It stood perfectly still while I staggered back. A cold rush of air passed by my ear, and for an instant I could swear I heard whispering, words I couldn't make out. My heartbeat drowned everything else. I stumbled toward the tunnel, desperate to crawl out. But before I reached the opening, I froze. From beyond the wall, the Simone apartment, came a sound, the distinct creak of my bedroom, floorboards. Someone or something was moving around out there while I was still in here. I crawled out of the wall so fast I scraped my elbows raw. The moment I stumbled into my bedroom, the air felt different, thinner, colder, charged with the faint chemical sting of dust and electricity. My closet door was wide open. I hadn't left it that way. Everything else looked slightly wrong. Subtle things, the kind that only you would notice in your own space. The lamp on my desk tilted to the left instead of the right. The curtain half drawn when I never opened it. My phone, which I had left plugged in, sat dead on the nightstand, battery drained to zero. I stood in the center of the room trying to breathe evenly, scanning for something, anything that made sense. The calendar above my desk caught my eye. The page was turned ahead to next month. I didn't do that. I didn't move. I just listened. But all I could hear was the faint hum of the fridge in the other room, and beneath it, the steady pulse of my heartbeat thudding in my ears. When I finally got my phone to charge again, the lock screen glitched twice before lighting up. Notifications exploded across it, dozens of them. Missed calls, unread texts, and 3 voice messages from my friend Lily. The first one was just static and muffled breathing. The second, her voice uneasy. "Hey, you came by last night, but you didn't say much. You looked tired. You okay?" The third one made my stomach turn cold. "I'm serious. That wasn't like you. You just stood there for a while, staring at the door. Then you said, 'I have to go back,' and left. Call me when you wake up, please. I didn't go anywhere last night." I know I didn't. I was here, in bed, listening to that thing behind the wall. Unless... No, there was no way. My mind clawed for logic. Maybe I sleepwalked. Maybe she was joking. Maybe the hidden room was messing with my head. I just needed proof. Something real. I opened my laptop and checked the security footage from the small camera I'd set up in my room, the one I used for work calls and late-night streaming. The files were all there. Timestamps clean? I clicked on last night's. At first, everything was normal. Empty bed, still frame. Then, around 1:40 a.m., movement. I watched myself walk into the frame. I was holding my phone, eyes open, but there was something wrong about the way I moved. Stiff, mechanical, like a puppet being tugged forward. I went straight to the closet, opened it, and just stood there for almost 2 full minutes. Then I turned around and smiled, right at the camera. It wasn't my smile. It didn't reach my eyes. Then I turned back, walked into the closet, and shut the door behind me. The video kept recording for hours, until dawn, but the closet door never opened again. I couldn't breathe. My throat locked up, my mind screaming that it wasn't real. But the timestamp matched. The footage was there. And I knew that I hadn't woken up until my alarm went off at 8 a.m., which means either I'm losing time or something else is using it. I shut the laptop. My hands were shaking. My reflection in the dark screen looked pale, almost unfamiliar. I whispered, "You've probably seen the video by now." The words slipped out before I could stop them. I don't even know why I said it. Maybe because part of me feels like this story is already out there, that someone's already watched it. Maybe that's why I keep recording. Maybe some part of me knows this isn't ending here. I looked back at the closet. The drywall panel hung open again, like an invitation I couldn't ignore. The smell of dust drifted out, faint but steady, as if the air inside was breathing. I could walk away. I could move out. Pretend it never happened. But I can't. Because if I don't find out what's in there, what I was doing, I'll never know what's real anymore. So tonight, I'm going back in to end it, or prove it's real. When I crawled back through the opening, the air felt wrong. The hollow space wasn't just dark, it was expectant, like something had been waiting. The faint scent of metal and rot still lingered, but there was something new beneath it now. Ozone, the smell of static before a storm. The light bulb I'd left flickering earlier was still on, but its glow had shifted to a pale, cold blue, casting strange shadows that bent the wrong way. The walls weren't quite the same color either. The wallpaper patterns, which I remembered being floral, had changed. Now they looked like smudged fingerprints, spiraling inward toward the mirror at the far end. That mirror hadn't been there before. It stood between the child's bed and the small desk, tall and rectangular, rimmed in thin brass. It wasn't dusty. It wasn't even old. It looked new. My reflection blinked a fraction too late. I told myself it was nerves, or sleep deprivation, or the adrenaline pounding through my chest. I stepped closer, raising my phone to record. The lens trembled in my hand as I whispered, "This is proof. Something's changing in here." The mirror gave a low hum, like feedback from a speaker. I stopped moving. The sound deepened, resonating in my bones. Not loud, but felt. I reached out, fingertips brushing the glass. It was warm, and that's when my reflection smiled. I didn't. I froze, hand still against the surface, watching that slow, deliberate curl of the mouth. Too wide, too patient. I dropped my hand instantly, and my reflection's smile lingered a second longer before fading, like it was learning how to mimic me better. Behind my reflection, someone walked past. I spun around, phone light cutting through the dim room. Empty. When I looked back, the reflection had returned to normal, but I'd seen it. A figure, my height, same clothes, walking calmly behind me as if they'd always belonged there. My breathing came fast, sharp. I forced myself to keep filming, sweeping the phone's light over the bed, the desk, the walls. That's when I noticed a thin leather-bound journal lying half-buried under the dust beside the bed frame. The name embossed on the cover read, Elias. Inside, the handwriting was cramped, frantic, entries dated decades apart, none consistent. The ink shifted from black to brown to red. July 14th, I found the first gap today. The wall hums when you listen long enough. August 2nd, it copies movement until it learns your habits. October 9th, don't let it catch you looking too long. It notices the rhythm of your breath. Each page got worse. Scribbled diagrams of walls and doorways. Notes connecting apartments, cities, people. Sentences that made my stomach knot. The watcher between walls moves when no one's looking. If you hear breathing behind you, stay still. It's not always yours. At the bottom of one page was a crude drawing, a row of identical rooms connected by narrow tunnels, each with a single mirror. The caption read, "They see through each other." I turned the page and froze. A Polaroid photo was taped there, blurry, faded, but unmistakable. My apartment, my closet, and me, standing in front of it, half turned toward the camera, wearing the same shirt I had on right now. I felt a pulse of cold air on my neck. Slowly, I turned toward the mirror again. My reflection stood perfectly still, but the light in its eyes was wrong, darker, sharper. The corners of its mouth twitched, not quite smiling this time, more like I'm holding something back. Then it moved, not in sync. It tilted its head slightly to the right, studying me. My body stayed rigid. Every instinct screamed to look away, but I couldn't. The glass rippled once, like water disturbed by sound. A whisper came through. Faint, distorted, familiar. "You shouldn't have come back." The voice wasn't mine. I stumbled backward, the journal falling from my hands, pages fluttering open around my feet. The words on them seemed to shift under the light, rearranging themselves. For a moment, I swore they spelled your turn. I raised my phone again, trying to record everything, but the screen glitched violently, flashing static, then frames of my own face, dozens of them, all smiling differently. The humming grew louder. The mirror's surface shimmered, and in it, I could see movement, reflections of rooms that weren't mine, walls with peeling paint, shapes crawling just outside the light. Other people stood in those rooms, all staring back through their own mirrors. Some looked terrified. Some were already smiling. Elias's words burned in my head. "They see through each other," I whispered. "How many of us are there?" The reflection leaned closer. Its lips moved before mine did. "Enough." Then it smiled again. The exact smile from the footage, that same wrong, deliberate curve. I whispered, "What do you want?" For a moment, it didn't answer. Its eyes flicked down as if studying me. Then it exhaled, and the glass fogged faintly, but on its side. When the mist cleared, words were written in the condensation. Backward, "You're late." And then my reflection said it, out loud in my voice, perfectly calm. "You're late." The light bulb above me shattered. Darkness, and the hum didn't stop. I woke up on the floor outside my closet. The door was closed again. My phone lay a few feet away, its flashlight still on, battery nearly dead. It took me a second to realize it was recording. The red light blinked steadily, accusingly. My throat was dry, my head pounding like I'd been knocked out, or maybe switched off. I didn't remember leaving the hidden room. I didn't remember anything after the mirror said my name. Hands shaking, I stopped the recording and played it back. The screen flickered for a moment, static, then clarity. What I saw shouldn't have existed. At first, the footage showed exactly what I remembered. Me entering the crawl space, breathing heavy, muttering to myself. Then, 20 seconds later, another version of me walked out of the closet. Two of me. The second one looked calm, collected, like I'd just returned from a run, not from whatever that place was. It looked around, straightened the camera, and smiled faintly. That same awful, too slow smile I'd seen in the mirror. Then it turned off the light. Except, I was still recording. I rewound the clip a dozen times, frame by frame, but there was no cut, no edit, no glitch. Just two versions of me, one entering, one leaving, separated by 20 seconds. I tried to tell myself it was some kind of technical artifact, corrupted file, camera error, but when I scrubbed through the footage again, something new caught my eye. At the bottom right corner, reflected faintly in the glass of the closet door, was another shape. Standing still, watching. It wasn't me. I uploaded part of the footage online. Not to YouTube, not yet. Just to a small horror forum I'd been lurking on for years. I titled the post, found a hidden room behind my closet. Watch this before it's deleted. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few trolls, some skeptics, a handful of fake comments. But within an hour, the thread exploded. People weren't mocking me. They were afraid. Holy shit! That's the same wallpaper as mine? Where did you find this? My apartment's in Chicago, and that's my closet. Look closely at the timestamp. It's the same as the one from the Elias archive. I didn't know what that meant. So I searched the name. Turns out there were old forum posts, years old, referencing something called the hidden architecture. Threads claiming some older buildings were connected by forgotten crawl spaces, sealed rooms, and reflective junctions. Places where the walls didn't line up correctly. Some posts had been deleted. Others ended abruptly, with comments like, "He stopped responding after finding the second door. Mods took it down, said it was a hoax." If this post gets taken down, you'll know why. It wasn't just my footage anymore. Other users started sharing screenshots. Flickers of rooms behind walls, faint outlines of mirrors, distorted reflections. Some looked identical to mine. Someone even uploaded a slowed-down version of my clip, frame by frame. At the 23-second mark, they pointed out something I hadn't noticed. When the second me left the closet, a faint whisper bled through the audio track, backwards, stretched out. When reversed, it said, "Keep filming now." My comment section filled with timestamps, theories, panic. Some swore they heard breathing under the static. Others said they saw their own faces in the reflection for a split second. I wanted to laugh it off, say it was mass hysteria, internet paranoia. But deep down, I knew. It wanted more eyes. Every time I refreshed the page, the view count climbed. The video had spread beyond the forum. Now it was on Reddit, Twitter, Discord servers. People tagging each other, saying, "Watch before it's deleted," or "Check your walls." My inbox filled with messages. "You shouldn't have uploaded that." They're watching through it now. "Do you still hear the hum?" That last one made my blood run cold, because I did. Even sitting there, in my silent apartment, I could feel it again. That low, rhythmic vibration deep inside the wall. The same pulse that started all of this. Only now it wasn't faint. It was closer. I turned off my phone. The hum grew louder. Something shifted behind the closet door. A slow, dragging scrape against the wood. I whispered to myself, "Don't open it. Just don't." But then I saw my reflection in the dark TV screen across the room. It was smiling again, faintly, knowingly, and from inside the closet came a sound, so quiet I almost thought I imagined it. "You're late." I grabbed the camera. I don't know what I'm expecting to find this time, but I have to go back, because if I don't, it'll come out on its own, and I think it's already learning how to walk like me. I have to go back. It's calling again. I don't remember crawling through the wall this time. One moment, I was standing in front of the closet, camera shaking in my hands, and the next, I was already inside. The air was thicker now, warmer. The hum had grown into a steady vibration, like a heartbeat syncing with my own. The crawl space had changed. It wasn't a crawl space anymore. It opened up. The narrow tunnel expanded into a corridor, long, endless, lined with pale, uneven wallpaper. I turned slowly, shining my phone's light across the walls, and froze. Each door along the hallway was mine, my door, my apartment number. The same scratches near the handle. I picked one at random and opened it. Inside was my apartment, or at least a copy of it. Everything was perfect. The same couch, the same half-finished cup of coffee on the table, the same faint scent of detergent. Even the window light was identical to the real one, except for the sound. Underneath the silence was a faint whispering, the same phrases, repeated over and over, too fast to follow. When I leaned closer, I realized the whispers were mine, recordings of my own voice. "Don't open it. I have to go back." "You're late." I backed out quickly, shutting the door. The whispers didn't stop. I kept moving down the corridor. More doors. More copies of my apartment. Some were empty. Others looked used. One had the mirror propped against the wall. Another had dozens of journals, all titled Elias, stacked neatly in piles, their pages blank except for my name scrawled across the inside covers. At the far end of the hall, something glimmered faintly in the dark. I walked toward it, every step sinking deeper into the hum that filled the space. Another camcorder. It sat on the floor, red light blinking, already recording. I hesitated, then picked it up and checked the viewfinder. The footage showed me, standing in this same hallway, holding a camera, looking terrified. Behind me, another version of myself stepped into frame, whispering something I couldn't hear. Then the video looped, restarting from the beginning. It kept looping. Every time I rewound it, the timing changed slightly. New details appearing, faces flickering in the shadows behind me. Some were mine, some weren't. I whispered to myself, "This isn't recording, it's remembering." The words hit me harder than they should have, because suddenly I understood. The room, the mirrors, the journals, the footage, it was feeding. Not on blood, not on fear, but on attention. Every camera, every recording, every time I told the story, it made the place stronger. That's why it kept pulling me back, why the walls kept growing, why the footage showed me spreading it. I crouched down and replayed the tape again, forcing myself to listen closely. Between the static, the whispering formed a sentence. Every time you watch, it remembers. I don't know why, but that broke me. I laughed, loud, desperate, hysterical, the kind of laugh that sounds too close to crying. I looked directly into the camcorder and said, "If you're watching this, congratulations. You're part of it now." The camera's red light pulsed faster, almost as if responding. The walls around me began to move. The wallpaper patterns, those smeared fingerprints, started swirling, peeling away to reveal something alive underneath. Layers of pale faces pressed against the surface, mouths open in silent screams. Each one looked like me. I turned and ran. But the hallway didn't end. It just folded in on itself, leading me into another version of my apartment, then another, then another. Now, one of them had the TV on. The screen showed a YouTube video, my own upload. Found a hidden room behind my closet. The view count was still rising. Comments kept appearing, one after another. I saw the reflection move. It said my name. This isn't fiction, right? I stared at the screen, feeling sick. The more people watched, the louder the hum became. The walls vibrated, almost trembling with excitement. The realization hit like a knife. This architecture, it wasn't buried. It was connected. Through screens, through stories, through you. Every retelling was another opening, I whispered. It's using me. The camera in my hand whirred softly. When I looked down, the lens was focused not on me but on the screen, recording the video that was showing me recording this video. An endless loop. I dropped the camera and backed away. My reflection on the TV turned its head before I did, and then it spoke. Keep filming. The glass warped inward, like something pushing from the other side. I screamed, but the sound didn't echo back as mine. It came from behind me. Slowly, I turned. Standing at the other end of the hallway was another version of me, motionless, smiling faintly, eyes black with static. Behind it, rows of identical figures waited in the dark, all holding cameras, all recording. They moved in perfect unison. I wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Every exit led back into another reflection, another recording, another me. I whispered, "If you're hearing this, stop watching." The hum deepened, vibrating through the floor, through my bones, through the signal itself. "Too late," said the voice behind me. I looked into the lens one last time, every nerve in my body trembling. "If this post gets taken down, you'll know why," I said. And then I smiled. Just a little too long. The footage cuts in and out, static. Breathing, brief flashes of my face under the flickering light. There's no continuity anymore, just moments stitched together, like something else is doing the editing for me. You can hear me whispering, or maybe it isn't me. Stop watching. Please? The audio distorts, words dissolving into low-frequency hum. The image freezes on a single frame. My reflection staring directly into the lens, smiling faintly, eyes filled with static. Then the screen goes black. Silence. And after a few seconds, the YouTube upload interface appears. You know it if you've ever posted anything. The bar crawling slowly toward completion, thumbnail automatically generated. But this time, the cursor moves by itself. No hands. No mouse. No user. The title field fills in, found a hidden room behind my closet, full recording. Tags auto-populate one by one. Horror, real footage, hidden room, Elias archive, cursed video, the progress bar hits 100%. And then, in the corner of the screen, uploaded 13 minutes ago. You can hear faint breathing under the silence, something shifting just off camera. Then, a voice, quiet, almost tender. You shouldn't have kept filming. The image flashes again, fragments of the hallway, the faces behind the wallpaper, the hundreds of mirrored versions of me. Then it cuts to the reflection, smiling, A low distortion follows, almost like laughter, but dragged through static. Don't worry, the voice says. They're watching now. The timestamp changes again, uploaded 13 minutes ago, as if it's still happening. The cursor hovers over the comment section. The top comment appears on its own. I heard the noise last night too. Another appears beneath it. Check your walls. Then another. It's real. The view count refreshes. It's rising fast. Too fast. The camera pans shakily as though held by someone else now. You can just make out the edge of the closet door behind me. Open again. Something breathing inside. I whisper. Barely audible. Voice cracking. If your closet's against an outer wall, don't move it. Just don't. The footage distorts. Colors bleeding into each other, the hum now deafening. The image flickers between dozens of faces. Mine, yours, the ones from the mirrors. All watching, all recording. And then, just before it cuts out for good, the upload page reappears one final time. Uploaded 13 minutes ago. No play button. No pause. Just a faint reflection on the black screen, smiling. If you've heard the noise too, comment below.